Imagine selling something for just $800, only to realize years later it would have been worth over $200 billion. A fortune so massive that it could make you one of the richest people in the world. That's exactly what Ronald Wayne did when he walked away from Apple. While the world remembers Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak as the masterminds behind one of the biggest tech empires in history, few know about the third co-founder, the man who helped lay the foundation of Apple only to disappear from its legacy. Think about that for a second. What would you do if you were in his shoes? Take the risk, knowing you could lose everything, or play it safe and walk away? But here's the real question. Was it truly a mistake? Or was it actually the smartest decision of his life? Why did he leave? Did he regret it? And what happened to him after making one of the most expensive decisions in history? This is the untold story of Ronald Wayne, the forgotten co-founder of Apple. Who was Ronald Wayne? To understand why Ronald Wayne made this decision, we need to go back to the beginning. Born on May 17, 1934 in Cleveland, Ohio, Ronald Gerald Wayne was not your typical Silicon Valley entrepreneur. Unlike Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, he wasn't a college dropout chasing a dream. He wasn't a rebellious innovator challenging the system. Instead, he was a practical, risk-averse engineer, someone who had already seen both success and failure in business. By the mid-1970s, Wayne had built a career as a respected mechanical engineer and product designer. He had the experience and the technical knowledge, but unlike the younger generation of tech enthusiasts, he had also experienced the harsh realities of running a business. Wayne had previously started his own company, but it failed, leaving him financially devastated. That experience shaped his cautious approach to business. He was a man who had learned the hard way that business was not just about great ideas, it was about surviving the risks that came with them. At this time, Wayne was working at Atari, one of the biggest names in gaming. It was there he met Steve Jobs, an ambitious, energetic young man bursting with ideas. Jobs saw Wayne as a mentor, someone who could provide guidance and structure to his chaotic vision. Through Jobs, Wayne was introduced to Steve Wozniak, the engineering genius who could build groundbreaking computers with ease. The two young men had a dream: to bring computers into people's homes. But they needed help, someone who understood business, someone with experience. That's when they turned to Wayne. Wayne initially hesitated, but his trust in Jobs and Wozniak and his desire to help young innovators pushed him to take the leap. Despite his concerns, he agreed to join the venture, hoping his business expertise would help steer the company in the right direction. Apple's founding and Wayne's role. On April 1st, 1976, Apple Computer Company was officially founded. The three men divided the ownership. Jobs and Wozniak each took 45%, while Wayne had 10%. But Wayne's role wasn't about designing computers or writing code. He was the business mind in the room, the one tasked with bringing order to what could have easily been a chaotic startup. One of his first contributions? Drafting Apple's first ever partnership agreement. This was the legal document that turned Apple from an idea into an actual business. Without it, there would be no Apple. He also designed Apple's very first logo, which was drastically different from today's minimalist Apple design. Instead, it was an intricate illustration of Isaac Newton sitting under an apple tree, symbolizing discovery and knowledge. On top of that, Wayne wrote the first ever manual for the Apple on a computer, the very first product Apple would sell. But while Jobs and Wozniak were willing to take risks to turn Apple into something bigger, Wayne saw something else. A disaster waiting to happen, and just 12 days later, everything changed. Why Wayne left Apple? Wayne was different from Jobs and Wozniak in one key way. He was older and he had something to lose. While Jobs and Wozniak were young, full of ambition, and willing to take massive risks, Wayne had already been through business failure before. He had seen firsthand how quickly things could go wrong. Under the terms of their agreement, if Apple went into debt, Wayne would be personally responsible for repaying it. Jobs and Wozniak had no real assets. If Apple failed, the debt would fall entirely on Wayne. And knowing Jobs' personality, Wayne had no doubt Apple would take big risks. The young entrepreneur was known for his relentless ambition, his ability to convince people of impossible ideas, and his willingness to take bold steps forward, even if the odds weren't in his favor. So after just 12 days, Wayne made a decision that would haunt him forever. He walked away. He sold his 10% stake in Apple for just $800. Let's put that into perspective. In 2025, a 10% stake in Apple would be worth over $200 billion. That's more than the entire net worth of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg combined. It's more than the GDP of many countries. It was without a doubt one of the most expensive decisions in history. But even years later, Apple offered him another chance to buy back in. But he declined. Wayne later admitted that he didn't want the stress of running a company like Apple. He knew that the immense responsibility, the pressures of Silicon Valley, and the relentless pursuit of growth would have been overwhelming for him. He valued his peace of mind more than material wealth. Life after Apple. So, what happened to Ronald Wayne? While Jobs and Wozniak became tech legends, Wayne lived a much quieter life. He continued working as an engineer and later spent time at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. Eventually, he moved to Nevada, where he ran a small stamp and coin shop. Despite missing out on billions, Wayne never cashed in on Apple's success. In fact, at one point, he even sold his original Apple contract for just $500, only for it to later be resold for over $1.5 million.
Oh my God!
Yet, despite the mind-blowing value of what he lost, Wayne never expressed deep regret. In an interview, he famously said, "If I had stayed with Apple, I probably would have ended up the richest man in the cemetery." Wayne never wanted billions. He wanted peace of mind, and in his eyes, he made the absolute right choice. Conclusion and moral of the story. Ronald Wayne's story is one of the biggest what-ifs in tech history. But maybe the real lesson here isn't about money. Maybe it's about knowing what success means to you. For some, success means billions of dollars. For others, success means freedom, stability, and peace of mind. Ronald Wayne chose freedom over fortune. But if it were you, what would you have done? Would you have taken the risk and stayed with Apple? Or would you have walked away, just like Wayne did? And the bigger question, what would you define as true success? Let me know in the comments down below.